Some people tend to have short lists of memorable experiences, like when you got your first console for your birthday, your first kiss, or the time you hooked up with this cheerleader and woke up the next morning to find yourself naked and confused in a very public place, with the only way of covering yourself as a sign saying, "I like it up the arse." And sometimes, a game is so good that it creeps into that list of memorable experiences, like Half-Life 1 or 2, or even Dino Crisis. So with every game I play, I really hope that this game ends up in my list of memorable experiences. Sadly, the game called Blur does not have what it takes to stroll alongside the gods amongst games. There isn't one reason why Blur didn't make it into my "oh my god, this game is fucking awesome" list, simply because it is flawed in more than one way. Take the graphics for example. When you create a release that has to compete with Split Second, you have to realise that there are many graphic whores out there. Granted, the visuals aren't all bad, but at times I felt like they could have done a better job on the environment. If, however, the scenery was made so that it wouldn't steal your attention, mission succeeded. Now normally I'd spend a paragraph per game telling you how bad the story is, but in this case I pretty much can't because of the absence of a story in any form or shape. You are just a nameless driver that races people in an urban or not so urban locations to earn something the developer refers to as lights. Hardly the thing I would race for. If you get enough lights, you can enter the next class of races and eventually challenge one of the bosses that get their very own cutscene. These one-on-one races are being announced as the hardest around, but when actually playing, it feels like another race but with one opponent instead of 20, making it very easy to win. The controls on the cars are far better than those of Split Second. You might even say that some cars have certain advantages over others, but that would be overdoing it. I saw Hummers win races in an urban environment against sports cars. You might blame this on the power-ups and a good dose of luck, but I retried the event several times and the Hummer finished way up front more than once, whilst he started dead last. When you race, you will also notice that some cars tend to drift rather easily, whilst other cars attempting this end up having a meeting with Mr. Guardrail. So for every driver and racing style there will most likely be a car that fits your need, be it a Ford Mustang or a Land Rover Defender. And although this game has a wide variety of cars, it does end up being rather absurd. A battered old Volkswagen Beetle isn't exactly the type of car you'd expect in a flashy game like this. Blur also offers a small but effective variety in power-ups that can make or break perfect laps around the track. You have electric bolts that damage your opponent's cars, mines that slow them down, power-ups to repair your car, adding up to a total of 3 offensive power-ups, 2 defensive, and 3 that are good for just about any situation. Personally, I find that this is where Bizarre Creations dropped a notch. Several opportunities have been unused, such as sending a heavily damaged racer down a tricky path by luring him with a repair, or by not giving the cars leading the pack so many tools to get even more of an advantage. And although this power-up system is nothing but a stolen idea from games like Mario Kart, it must be said that this works rather well in this game. Never was I looking for a banana to drop for my adversaries, and deflecting shunts with a barge can be as exciting as burning someone's car down after you've stolen their girlfriend. Not that I would know how exciting that is, mind you. There are several game modes, but they are nothing but racing with minor changes. You have time trials where you have no opponents and collect time power-ups to extend your racing time, destruction mode where you race and destroy other cars which results in getting extra points, and when the time runs out you need to get more than a fixed amount, earning you lights, and as I mentioned before, you have one-on-one races which give you the car of your adversary if you win. If we take a closer look at the difficulty, it must be said that this game does a perfect job. When I selected easy, I always ended first, normal made me fight for victory, and hard was an absolute agony. When playing online you can be assured of having a ball, playing with 20 people in one race can only be described as fucking mental. While this game has more than one flaw, people might and will have fun playing Blur. It doesn't feel clunky and heavy like Split Second, but the AI seems to get enraged when you come near it, causing people nightmares about driving in the middle of the pack. The cars look great, but the surroundings look like a 5-year-old built himself a city with Lego, and then spilled his drink all over it. Blur never feels unbalanced and makes you fight for every victory. I can understand that this game is addicting for some people, but this particular feeling has completely ignored me. Playing Blur after some emotionally heavy movie or game seems like a great distraction, but it will never make me forget what time it is, or that I still need to act like a total douchebag on the internet to compensate for my low self-esteem.